I want to do a very quick video with regards to the methods that we would use to return to the kingdom. And there are two, well, three, depending upon where you're from and what group you're in. So let's break them down. The first portion is going to come from the Messiah, which is Matthew 24. For those who are in Judea, when they see the abomination of desolation, they flee to the mountains. Kind of simple on that. No question on where they're going or anything like that. You know, eventually they'll get to Mount Sinai, but that's one method of travel. Whether that's by car or by foot, that's for those who are in Judea to decide. The second method is by boat, and we see that in Deuteronomy 28:68. And those are by, basically everyone else is going to go by boat and get to Egypt. But there's a third method, which is a very reserved method. It's also a boat. It just happens to be a flying boat. And it's going to be the most amazing verse because it's the first time I've ever heard of anything with regards to an airplane, and this is back from Isaiah. So Isaiah's talking about an airplane? I mean, has he even thought of what an airplane is? So let's go through the verse. It's in Isaiah 11. So before I hit the verse, let's also make sure that we're talking about the same thing. Let's make sure that the verses are talking about the Exodus. So in Isaiah 11, starting at verse 12, because this is verse 14, he will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel, gathering the nations, Exodus. He will assemble the scattered people of Judah from the four quarters of the earth. Ephraim's jealousy will vanish, and Judah's enemies will be destroyed. Ephraim will not be jealous of Judah, nor Judah hostile towards Ephraim. It is the Exodus. We don't have to go any further. Now, let's go back to the problem is our current Bible has mistranslated this, so we have to go back to an earlier version. Our current Bible is based upon the Hebrew, or actually the Leningrad Codex of the Hebrew Masoretic text, which was translated first in 1009 AD. That's 1,000 years after the Messiah. We can go back to the Greek Septuagint, which is 300 years before the Messiah, and read Isaiah, which is from a much older version. And this is what it says when you look at the Greek Septuagint. And they shall fly in the ships of the Philistines. They shall at the same time spoil the sea, and then from the east, and Idumea, and they shall lay their hands on Moab first, but the children of Ammon shall first obey. Now we can see that when we're looking at Jeremiah 48 to the end of our path during the Exodus. But that's not really the crux of this verse. Fly in the ships of the Philistines. Is there a ship that flies? I can think of one. Actually, I think of two of them, but I don't think we're going to go by a blimp. So the ships of the Philistines, flying in the ships of the Philistines. Sounds like an airplane to me. And it's even more important than that. Well, that's a factor of where we would land. I won't get into that. But it's an interesting study there. But again, the first mention of an airplane, Isaiah 11:14. Interesting factor. Now, why do I think that's a factor? Because those who are in the 144,000, they have to get to Mount Sinai on first fruits. That's how I read it. I could be wrong, but that's my interpretation of the 144,000 will get to Mount Sinai on first fruits. That's about a week after the Passover. So how are you going to cross that sea that quickly? You know, if you're going on an airplane, you can do it rather quickly. So, again, just an interesting thing. I'll even put a link on here so you can look at the Greek Septuagint. And I absolutely suggest that you do look at the Greek Septuagint. It's a great study tool because it gives you an older version. And you should always go for the older version first.